Well, hello, good evening, and welcome back to II Racing League on Twitch. Hope you're all really well. Hello, Pats. Hope you're well, mate. As you can tell, we're at sunny Suzuka. Will it stay sunny for the rest of the race? Well, we don't know. You're going to have to find out with us together. Round 10 of 13, and for those who are good at quick maths, 4 races left of the season. It is crunch time. Did a small calculation earlier on. If Ross outscores Ryan in the next 2 races, Ross will become champion. However, Ross is not racing the final 2 races. He's not here. So the pressure now is on Ross to try and gain around 10 or so points on Ryan in the next 2 races. If Ryan gets within, I'd say, 50 points, then he has a shot in the final 2 races if he wins both of them. But the pressure is very much on Ryan. Ross still has things in control. And welcome back to Ghost. Hasn't been here for a while. Nice to have you back. Having a nice little fight with Mr. Wiggles. Potentially could be a sign of things to come later on in this evening's race. As ever, 4 streams every week on this channel. Tonight is no assist, tier 1. There's a Ghost showing off a stream there with a nice slide of the exit spoon corner. Good evening, Akaris and Dayman. Hope you're well. As ever, 4 streams. Thursday night assist tier 1, Saturday night F2, Sunday night assist tier 2, and Ghost Tamino taking out Billy the Bollards nice and quickly. And Ghost will take us on a track tour of this beautiful Suzuka circuit. Second longest straight on this track is the main straight into the first couple of corners. Very easy to lose it, get understeer. Careful on the curbs in this S section. When you nail it, it is absolutely beautiful. But if you make a mistake, it can be the worst series of corners. And there you have it. Just running a little bit wide at the Dunlop curve, the left-hander. And that's what caused Ghost's demise there. Wiggles through the 2 Degner corners underneath the bridge. Very tricky hairpin. Careful on throttle on the exit. Could easily lose it. No DRS down this straight into the double left-hander known as spoon. Beautiful corner. Tricky, very tricky, even if it doesn't look it. No DRS down this because you got the infamous 130R. Flat out, easy in these modern Formula 1 cars. Hit your braking point for the Casio chicane and try and ram the throttle as early as you can without losing traction. Take a nice tight line through that final corner, just minimises your run to the line, and Mr. Wiggles sets a benchmark of 1 minute 30.1. Ryan kicking off his evening with an invalidation out of spoon corner. Easily done. Need to be careful for that, obviously. Validations and stuff will matter in qualifying, but in the race those will equate to 1 warning, and for every 3 warnings you get a 3-second time penalty, which, considering if there are safety cars towards the end of the race, will bunch the field up and you will lose time at the end when you cross the finish line. So minimising your errors on this track is going to be tricky. especially through the two Degner corners before the bridge. Easy to run wide and to cut the corners there. And I'd say slightly easier as well to cut this final chicane as Greg comes around to post a 31.8. 3.5 mile circuit, 53 laps in real life, which means 27 here tonight. That guy hasn't got a front wing, so he's been struggling with the track in the early moments too. We have a debutant here tonight, Runnier. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Mr. Colucci, new to the league as well, made his debut on last week. It's his first no assist race tonight, and he's popped in there with a 31.3, currently sitting in third place. Good evening, Patch, hope you're well. I hope you are as well. Nice to hear you stream, but sadly, wish you holiday. Yeah, I'm not going to make it like, I'm not going to show off my news basically. We're due to go on holiday, me and my wife. My wife got COVID on Sunday. She just whooped in the background. I don't know if you heard that. But yeah, anyways, it sort of, we couldn't go on holiday then, so it's a bit of a shame, but it means I can stream with you tonight, so it's not all bad news. My wife's not enjoying it, but we've both got time off work, so that's a positive, I guess. We get some time, but you know, anyways. Enough about that. As you clicked on the stream, you'll see the go live notification is thank you for 400 followers. Just want to say we hit it on Sunday night. Really appreciate all the support. We've been going, I can't remember exactly when we started, but we've been going around about 8 or 9 months. And to get 400 followers in 8 or 9 months, it's very impressive. So thank you all for your support. Quickest. Because Q1 really isn't about how quick you can go, it's more about how slow you cannot be, if that makes sense. Bottom 3 will be dropping out. I believe Deflated Wee will be joining late. So depending on when Deflated Wee joins, it may be the bottom 4 going out in this session. Tucker running a little bit wide there through Dunlop curve. Easy to do, but if you nail it, you can really gain a lot of time on your lap. Indeed, 400 already. Very much took us by surprise how quickly and how much support we've had on this channel. Really appreciate it all. Even if you're not chatty in chat, that's fine. We appreciate the follow. Appreciate the views that we get. We don't seek to make money out of this. We seek to provide this as a place where people can enjoy racing. Few people using the medium compound tyres. Tucker comes to the line, 33.1. We did see a small mistake earlier on in the lap, so potentially he can go quicker than that. See Padge is back on his wheel. Which, if you've been following the last month or two, you'll know that Padge has been super unlucky with wheel faults, failures, however you want to phrase it. He has struggled with finding a wheel that works, so fingers crossed for Padge and get that wheel working tonight. So Ryan, take 2, and he's got a McLaren in front of him. Make that behind him. Tucker getting out of the way so well that I didn't even notice. Currently Kemmets is setting the pace, the only driver into the 29s at this moment. Prev has gone second fastest, 1 millisecond ahead of Mr. Wiggles, who currently holds third. Ghost not too far away from the top 2 positions either. Ross has just popped in there with a 30.2 on the nose, so that's a decent lap. Ripley, that guy on 30.3s. Ripley actually has set that on medium compound tyres. So that is very impressive lap time there from Ripley. Dayman not too far behind his teammate, only 1/10, as Ryan also does a 30.3 on the mediums. Flute, also medium tyres, currently P10 and a 30.5 decent. He's got a bit of space behind him back to our newbie Runnier on a 30.9. Then we have a cluster of drivers in the 31s. Tidy's Bear, Mr. Colucci, FBU Note, Greg, all pretty close in times. Always Padge just finding out, being reintroduced to the spoon corner and how difficult it is on the curb. Mr. Wiggles goes fastest overall, 29.6. It's a half a second improvement from his first lap, so Mr. Wiggles has pace tonight, it would seem. 5 minutes left of the session. Bottom 3 will be leaving us. Padge is safe at this moment in time on a 31.4. We can assume Deton can do better than a 1:48, so that will be beaten. Question is, where will he finish? But he won't finish this lap. Tucker coming round to start a new lap or finish an old one. Ross also in the last 30 seconds has done a 29.7. Scrap that. That guy is now done a 29.7 too. So drivers are finding time. Flew has retired and he has done so in the pits. So he hasn't crashed anywhere. Oh, and Tucker goes for a spin at Spoon. Still 3 minutes left in session. So, opportunities are there for Tucker to try and get that good lap. See where he can put his McLaren on the grid. Ripley persisting with these mediums. Oh, and goes for a spin and a crash, and fortunately for him, he has not crashed, which means he will not be leaving the session in Q1. I think if I were Ripley now, I'd just go back into the pits and stay there. Clements back out on track 2 on a flying lap, but this one is not going to count. Invalids. Mr. Wiggles at the top has retired already, but anything in the 29s will see you comfortably through. I think anything in the mid-30s will pretty much see you through, unless those at the bottom can get massive gains. Deaton starting a new lap and getting invalidated straight away. Means he's going to have to drive a few kilometres just to start a new lap. By that time he's only going to have one attempt at it. So Deaton has one lap at a shot in Q2. Indeed, rather fortunate, Flu. Nice to see you. Hope you're well. FB Uno out on track. His time is the one to beat at the moment, 1 minute 31.5. Tenth up in sector 1, just running wide at the exit of the second Degner corner there, but gets away without an invalidation. Maybe FB Uno actually lost some time in that corner. Always interested to see people's lines through that flat-out right-hander. Do they take a nice tight line? Do they swing it wide? Nice and tidy through Spoon there. But how quick is it? Sector 2 split is coming up on this straight before 130R. And he's half a second up, and that is good news for him. Runnier has improved by 0.6 of a second. And has shot up to P8, so Runnier will be safe in this session as Clements goes fastest by a couple of tenths of a second. FB Uno has improved into the 1 minute 30s and is now up to 12th and has a pretty good advantage on his rivals around him. So that's a pretty handy lap there from FB Uno. Question is, can other people find that kind of improvement? Greg also improves by half a second, but he still remains behind his teammate. Deaton has gone for that second lap. Mr. Colucci has not gone back out on track after his first run, so he will be finishing 15th. Tucker is finishing 17th. Only 2 more at risk. Tardius Bear is perhaps the one to be a little bit nervous here, in case Padge and Deaton can get some good laps in. Tardius Bear will be the one to drop out. Greg and FB Uno are mathematically safe, only 2 people can push him down. Deaton is 15 seconds up. I still think he needs a little bit more in this final sector. Padge also on a lap behind. We'll check in with him once we see what Deaton's doing. Oh, corrects the slide really well, but that's going to ruin his time. And as a result, it's 17th on the grid. Padge, meanwhile, 2 tenths up in sector 1. Time to beat is only fractions ahead. If he can get a personal best here, even if it's by a couple of hundredths of a second, he is going to make it through. And Padge is 9 tenths up. Barring a huge mistake there, Padge is definitely going to be making it through, and Mr. Colucci could be dropping out. Around the final corner, looks pretty good from Padge, and he jumps up to 11th. And he is safe. Greg through. In the end, Mr. Colucci only missed out by half a tenth of a second. Tardius Bear, the one to beat. Greg making it through by a tenth and a half. Q1s generically aren't the most exciting session in a Formula 1 weekend. However, plenty of excitement there to keep us ticked over for now. Kement's topping the timing screens in his Red Bull, 29.4. 29.6 is for Wiggles and Ross, and the only other person in the 29s is that guy. Those top four have a nice healthy advantage on the rest of the pack. As for those leaving us, Tuck will be 18th on the grid, Deaton 17th. Mr. Colucci, in his first no-assist race in IRL, will be starting in 16th place, and let's not forget Deflated Wee if he joins late. He'll be starting in 19th. Good evening, Magic. Bonjour, hope you're well. Thank you for the follow, Mr. Chesterburn7. Appreciate that, man. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a fantastic week so far. Hope you enjoy the racing on the Twitch channel. And as Q2 gets underway, this is where strategy takes centre stage. In case you're unaware, Q2, for those the top 10 that get through to Q3, they will have to start the race on the exact same set of tyres they used to get there. So if I, say, qualified 8th position on the medium compound tyres, I'll be starting the race on that same set of mediums. Obviously, the mediums are a little bit slower than the soft compound tyres, so do you want to do an alternate strategy, start the race on a different set of tyres to the most of the people? Do you want to ensure your spot in Q3 and go through on the softs? That is the question for the next 15 minutes. Oh, Tucker being kicked out of the game on his flying lap. It's desperately unlucky. Hate to hear when that happens. Those outside of the top 10 for the race, they get a free tyre choice. They can choose whatever set they want, and they have a brand new set at their disposal, so it's not all doom and gloom. They just start a bit further back, have a few more cars between them and some points. It does mean that for the next 20-30 minutes they will be sitting and can't race, which is always a bummer. The only downside with full quali. Prev comes round to start the first flying lap of Q2. Opting for the soft compound tyres, not messing around with the mediums. Deciding to get a good lap time in there nice and quick. Pretty quick in Q1 was Prev. Have to see if he can push his personal best into the 1 minute 29s. Let's get rid of that. You're already famous, Akaris. I've no idea who you are, mate. So, 12 out on track, 3 in the pits, Ripley, Greg and Pajestic. Track quite congested in Sector 2, as you can see on the track map. 2 drivers coming around to start new flying laps, they're pretty close together as well. Obviously, you don't want to be too close to the car in front of you because you might lose some downforce, especially on this track, where downforce and cornering is very important. You do not want to put yourself in a bad spot on track. Obviously, Prev doesn't need to worry about that. He has fresh air in front of him all the way. And Prev starts off the evening with, well, this session with a 30.0, which is a few tenths better than what he managed in Q1. Nice lap there from Prev. What about Ghost then? He's using the medium compound tyres. Obviously, he's not going to set an insane quick lap time in the 29s on those medium compound tyres. But what can he manage? We saw a few people get through with a 30.3 on the mediums, and well, I mean, no one was expecting him to get into the 29s on the medium tyres, but I stand to be corrected as Ranier just moving off the track. I believe he's just getting out of people's way. Oh, and that guy. A couple of drivers suffering in that corner today so far, and another one bites the dust in the background. Feel free to sing at home. I don't know who that was. I think that might be FBU now. Yes, it was. Anyways, they are dropping like flies. Ross proving me wrong for the second time in a minute. Now 2 drivers in the 29s. Didn't really think that was possible, but just shows you how quick these guys are compared to the slow god. Mr. Wiggles, it's a 30.1 on the mediums, and ordinarily I'd be saying that's a very good lap time. But Ghost and Ross have set some flyers today. Dayman, that one's invalidated. He'll go again though. Taddy's bet opting for the soft compound tyres straight away. Tidy Spare goes 8th, as Kemmets does a lap that pops him up to 4th place. 30.0 on the medium compound tyres, so maybe the mediums aren't too much slower than the softs on this track. Someone going sideways there? Or was that just my angle? No one going sideways. Dayman, second attempt, take 2. Bit of a slide into second part spin corner there. Just corrects it, but may have lost a 10th or so, and obviously valuable speed onto the straight. Pass of Mr. Wiggles finishing another lap in front of him. Dayman not too far away from Mr. Wiggles, only a few tenths. Dayman currently occupying 7th. Flew me what? Red Bull just getting out of the way there. Possibly Kemmets. Just moving aside very nicely. Giving Flew the racing line. That is exactly what we want from the drivers in these qualifying sessions. Don't block anyone, might get a penalty for it by the steward. Flew does tend to use the soft tyres in Q2 a lot more than the mediums, so not too much of a surprise he's gone for the faster compound tyre here. And it's a 29.9. Flew is coming through with some pace tonight. I'm going to confidently predict that anything in the 29s will get you through to Q3 tonight. Might mean that Dayman will be looking over his shoulder a little bit on that 30.4. May have to go out on those soft compound tyres. Mr. Wiggles might be safe on a 30.1. Just depends on if other people can hook up their laps or not. And what about Ripley then, round the final corner? He comes to the line, it's looking decent. It's a 29.7 as Mr. Wiggles. I think I just lost off screen for a minute. Mr. Wiggles did a 29.3 on the mediums. What? Jerry, I think we got a timing glitch on our screens. My word, Mr. Wiggles definitely safe with that. And the only downside is you can see it has 3 laps next to his time. That means that he'll have to start the race on the same set of medium compound tyres that have already done 3 or 4 laps. So that is the only downside for Mr. Wiggles, which means even if he qualifies on pole, he may not get the best start off the grid. Greg, 2 opting for the medium compound tyres. It's a kind of 50-50 split between soft and mediums at the moment. That guy's dropped into... actually, he's been there for a while, my bad. Trying to think if anyone else has improved. Greg then. It's a 31.6 and currently in the drop zone. Padge is not quite safe. He is missing out on Q3 as it stands by 5 milliseconds. It is all super close. When you look at the lap times between Ross in 4th and Prev in 9th, there is less than 2/10 in it. And that could be absolutely critical in the final moments of the session where people are looking to improve. And obviously, just 1/10 improvement from Prev could jump him up 4 or 5 places here. So, those in the midfield, even Ross on that 29.9, are going to be a little bit nervy. Brian, Clements, Prev, all not too far away from the 29s and are more than capable of dropping those top 2 or 3 drivers down. Padge into the pits, and we'll have potentially one more run if he can squeeze some time out of that. If he can get out of the pits quick enough, might be able to come out on track for one final run, but we'll confirm if Padge can make it for another lap in 30 seconds or so. Rania, meanwhile, made it into the top 10 in the first session of qualifying. And that is not going to help his cause, unfortunately for him or her. That lap is not going to be the one he's hoping for, and Greg is going slowly. FB Uno has retired from the session and has crashed. Clements has ditched the mediums. There you see FB Uno crashing. So he will be our first to leave us in Q2, and with 1 minute 20 seconds left. Anyone in the pits cannot improve, so Padge, Rania and Tidiest Bear are joining FB Uno. The only person who can make it out of that drop zone is Greg, which means that Clements is actually safe. Only one actually, no, Dayman could beat him too. So this lap may be crucial here for Clements. Dayman obviously is out on track 2. He'll be hoping that he can improve and just solidify his place in the top 10. Prev has improved to a 29.5 and Flew has improved to a 29.4. Have to say, Flew doesn't usually put himself in contention for pole, but tonight could be an exception. And that's not me saying he's slow, it's me saying that Flew is very good on this track. Greg is out of the session, and that means that Dayman is now safe. He's going quicker, and he will finish his lap, and it's into the 29s, so people find him pace tonight. Ryan is the one who, his position looks a bit more nervous than he actually should be. A 30.0 is the benchmark, which is mad when you think about it. That guy doesn't have to finish this lap, but if he wants to start on the soft compound tyres, he does need a quicker lap time than his 29.9. But we already know who is going to be leaving us. Tidiest Bear will start 15th on the grid. FB Uno 14th. Greg, his teammate, ahead of him in 13th. Ranier, debutant here tonight, he's in 12th, and Padge will start 11th on the grid. Goes to Tamino and Ross and Mr. Wiggles. So far, 3 drivers we know will be starting the race on the medium compound tyres. What about that guy though? If he goes quicker than his PB, his personal best, then he will be starting on the soft compound tyres. If this is a slower lap time, he'll have to start on the mediums. And it is slower. So that guy starting on the medium tyres too. And decent laps under pressure there from the likes of Clements, Flew, Dayman, all with something to prove in this session, and decent lap times, mid to low 29s. Good evening, Tay, hope you're well. Favourite corners, Spain, turn 7 to 9, the Ascari honourable mention. That is something that I was going to mention at the end of this session. Now's a good time to do it. Thank you for the reason to do it now, Tay. What are your favourite corners, or favourite corner individually, on any Formula 1 track ever? And it could be favourite to drive, it could be favourite to watch, it could just be the nature of the corner itself, like the Monaco hairpin. Whatever, pop in the chat. What is your favourite corner or series of corners? As Q2 finishes, Mr. Wiggles, Clements, Flew, Dayman, Prev, Ripley, Ghost, Tamino, Ross, that guy and Brian, within 6/10 of each other, making it through to qualifying 3. Majestic, Ranier, Greg, FB Uno, and Tidy Spare dropping out in this session. RIP strategy? Well, if it was an RIP strategy, why'd you do it? '82 is 21 points divided by 8 drivers, so 8 drivers all within a shot at the championship, only 21 points in it. That is a great opportunity to plug Assist Tier 2 Sunday night 7:30 PM GMT on this channel. If you want notifications on your phone or device, click that follow button. Talking to followers, well done on 400, a pleasure to be a part of this. Oh, thank you very much, Deflated Wheat. Did see you joined in that session. Three drivers giving each other a nice slap on the butt cheeks coming out of the pits there. Ripley is one of them. And hello, Mr. Chesterburn. How are you, mate? Hope you're well. Do you follow Formula One? Tell us a bit about yourself. Lovely to hear from you. So as Q3 starts, strategy takes a back seat. Raw pace takes over. Everyone out on track with the exception of Mr. Wiggles. That guy is just coming out of the pits now to be the 9th out on circuit. Mr. Wiggles, the only one left in the pits so far. It's very congested at the front. Flew leads the way. I like the last corner of Zandvoort. The banking is awesome indeed. The trickiest corner, but any banked corner is pretty good. I think of the Nordschleife track when I think of banked corners. Definitely onto a winner with a good old banked corner. I love all of Sector 1 in Circuit of the Americas. Really? See, I hate that sector with a passion. I just can't get it right. Maybe it's because I'm a controller user, or maybe I just haven't got the right setup. So yeah, not my cup of tea, unfortunately. So I will happily give that cup of tea over to you, Kripik. And of course, good evening, Kripik. Hope you're well. Flew kicking off Q3. Everyone out on track. Mr. Wiggles deciding to go out later than the rest, but he doesn't have to slow down for Flew. Just coming through Spoon Corner now, so that's good track position for Mr. Wiggles. Doesn't have to worry about anyone. Obviously, Flew has an empty track in front of him too, so no need to worry for him. Two shots with different tyres perhaps for a lot of these drivers. Some drivers may go for 2 runs on one set of tyres and then come into the pits and put a new set on for the final lap. It just depends how your first run goes. Mr. Wiggles topped the timing sheets qualifying 2. So he's one to look out for. Flew was also up there. Kemmets was up there too. Also Dayman had a quick lap. Plenty in contention for pole, and Flew kicks it off with a 29.9. Ryan does a 30.0, same as he did in Q2. Prev goes fastest on a 29.7. And here comes Mr. Ghost. Kemmets is into the pits, and Ghost sets the fastest lap time we have seen tonight, a 29.1. Ross makes me eat my own words. I am hungry, but not for words tonight. Ross does a 29.0, and could we see drivers into the 28s tonight? Bayman's on a slow lap. Kemmets is into the pits, as we said. Ripley has gone 4th fastest on a 29.8. That guy is coming round the final chicane now. Damon's done a slow first attempt, so might be on another lap now. Mr. Wiggles does a 29.5, puts himself in 3rd. But with that guy, because that one was a very leisurely 1:41. Can definitely go quicker than that. A little bit of oversteer coming off the turn 3 curb. Very easy to do. Rest of the sector seems pretty decent. Seems like sector 1 is where he backed off on his first attempt. Seeing the car on the limit in Cotter, yep, completely agree with you. I'm just not good at it myself. Drivers starting to come back into the pits after their first runs. A little bit wide from that guy, but gets away with it without any validation. Sometimes you do wonder who actually coded this game, Codemasters or just a general animal. 10 seconds up, so needs a bit more if he wants to drop into the 29s. Another second or so. This final sector is needed. A little bit too hot there into the first of that chicane corner. Might have ruined his exit. It is a 29.4 though, so what do I know? Commentators are never right, aren't they? They just call the action. And as soon as I say anything, they are made to look very silly by the drivers. That guy, third fastest, and everything I was just saying, you can ignore. Prev is on another lap. Has just seen his teammate go up into third. That will be on his screen. Prev 3 tenths up, so is due to beat his teammate if he can match his personal best in the third sector. Taking a lot of curb through the chicane, and it's a 29.4. Did lose a slither of time in the final sector, but does beat his teammates. Favourite section of the track? I like Sector 1 at Hungary for some reason, and basically all of Portugal. I can join you on that. Portugal is potentially one of my favourite tracks. I have a lot of favourite tracks, but Portugal's up there for me. Pressure perhaps on Ryan in this sector. Needs a good qualifying result tonight. If you weren't here at the top of the show, we said that Ross needs to outscore Ryan in the next 2 races, and then Ross will become champion. Ross is not going to be here for the final 2 races of the season. The gap is currently 44 points at the top. We'll tell you a little bit more about the standings in the 5-minute break after qualifying. Yeah, I'm with you, Wee. I'm with you on Portugal and Hungary. Hungary is, you know, last game, I hated Hungary with a passion. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to get good at this track. I hate it, but I'm going to get good at it. And it's one of my favourites now. Love it. Can't get enough of Hungary. I am hungry for Hungary. Nick de Vries might be replacing Lando in Monaco. Tonsillitis. Oh yeah, I saw a thing of where he didn't respond to his engineer at the end of the race in Spain. Right, because he was just struggling that much with it. Really feel for him, you know. Tells a lot about your character when you race in Spain with tonsillitis. Piastri, Stoffel Van Dorn, Paul de Resta. I think it's a bit too over Paul de Resta. It has been a while since he was in Formula 1. I would like to see Oscar Piastri. Very exciting driver. Haven't heard this much hype about a new driver, I think, since Max Verstappen. I mean, Mick Schumacher has had some kind of hype. I think that's just because of his name. Struggling to think the last really good racing driver who had a lot of hype to him. It was Hamilton, he was hyped. Verstappen was hyped. Leclerc was hyped as well. Russell as well. Lando. Ryan goes 6th fastest, and that's his best time of the night. But still a long way to go if he wants to beat Ross here tonight. Ripley goes fastest, as we see Flew just invalidating in Sector 2 through the Degner corners. Ripley puts himself, from out of nowhere I have to say, in contention for pole position here tonight. What about Kemmons? Pretty handy in Q2. Taking a lot of curb there through 3. Very brave. general consensus is if you kind of run the middle of the car over that curb, you don't get the oversteer, as if you just clip it. I have to say that sector 1 looked pretty good from Cummins. And those Degner corners, pretty much perfect. Slight mistake through the hairpin. Got a bad exit and a bit of a lock up into it. That may have removed all the good work from sector 1. But that was satisfying to watch. That's how to do spoon corner perfectly. Ghost a little bit on the racing line, but there's enough track there that I don't think Cummins will mind too much. I have to say, apart from the hairpin in sector 2, this is pretty much a near perfect lap from Cummins. Loads of curb in the final chicane, on the power nice and early, straightening the car up, nice run line to the line. It's a 29.5, and just think how quick that lap time could have been if it hadn't been for his slight mistake in sector 2. It is now crunch time. Checkered flag is about to fall. Ryan and Fluid in the pits, so they'll be starting 8th and 9th as Mr. Wiggles goes provisional pole by 100th of a second. 29.0. Will anyone break that 28 barrier here this evening? Ghost has finished his session on a 29.1 and will start 4th on the grid as things stand. We've got Mercedes coming to the line. That'll be either Ripley or Dayman. See what they can do. It's Dayman. It is an improvement. Everyone into the 29s in Q3. Unfortunately for Dayman, no improvement on his position. What about Ross? Only needs a fraction better than his previous best. A little bit of a slide out of the final corner. It's a 29.2. It's no improvement, and he will stay 3rd on the grid. Here comes that guy around the final corner now. Nice and tight to the line. DRS open. That's a slow lap for him. He stays in 6th. Cummins is on a slow lap too. Prev misses out on his personal best by milliseconds. Ripley is on a slow lap, I believe, and so too is Mr. Wiggles. So there you have it. Ross took round 1 in Q3, but Ripley replied, and Mr. Wiggles shoved them both out the way and said, "No thank you, this is mine." Comes around to complete the session, starting on pole position. So yeah, but Mr. Wiggles picking up a pole position here tonight. Doesn't get many, but when he does, proves he has pace and should never be written out of a qualifying session. Ripley, great lap time there, 29.0, pops himself on the front row of the grid. Ross, unlucky to not be on pole with that 29.0 lap time of his own. Only 26 milliseconds away from pole position. He'll be unfortunate to start P3. Goes to Mino, only a 10th within reach, and P4. I guess he might be a little bit off. Might be a little bit gutted with only a P4 with that lap time as well. Prev, that guy. Cummins, Ryan, Flew, all pretty close. Only 2 tenths separating those 5 drivers. Dayman rounding out the top 10 on row 5 of the grid. And if the drivers are that close in qualifying, what is the race going to provide for us? Again, blazing sunshine. Nice weather, it would seem. Do have a few minute break now for the drivers to choose their setup strategies, fuel loads, tyre choices, the like. But of course, plenty for us to talk about. Probably 2019 rookies were the last time F2 drivers were properly hyped. Not as hype as Piastri though. True. I think everyone's just waiting to see Piastri show what he can do in F1. So, fingers crossed. I think probably after this season Alonso will retire. Ocon will be #1 driver, Piastri will come in. And if he can beat Ocon in Season 1, that'll be a pretty good achievement for Piastri. But I think he has the tools to do it. Tight at the top, just couldn't do what I did in Q2, unfortunately. That's yeah, it is what it is. Did a good lap time in Q2. Sometimes it just doesn't quite work out in a session for you. But still, plenty of opportunities in the race. Of course, this track isn't the best for overtaking. Only one DRS zone, and that's down the main straight, which isn't massively long. So you need good straight line speed if you want to make that overtake done. And of course, you can overtake towards 130R, but without DRS, it's tricky unless you use a lot of your overtake. And of course, if you do get it done into 130R, you're just going to leave yourself vulnerable to a DRS attack in the next corners. So it is tricky to overtake here, which might mean that you need to rely on strategy to win, or just rely on not making a mistake, not getting time penalties, so on and so forth. Even the smallest mistake, excuse me, could cost you multiple positions in this race. See you, Reese. Have a great day, mate. Have a good one. And good evening, Ripley. Nice quali from you tonight. 100th away from pole position here in Japan. Ustamino had a game crash, so that's why he has rejoined. However, I don't think he'll get to control the car for the start. He's currently in P4, so might be a slither of opportunity for those in P5, P6 to maybe capitalise on Ghost's AI starting the race for him. As for the championship, Ross leads by 44 points. As we said, if Ross outscores Ryan by 7 points in the next 2 races, then Ross is crowned champion. Ryan will be hoping that doesn't happen, and he can gain some points on Ross here tonight. Last time Ryan outscored Ross was in Silverstone 3 races ago. Since then, Ross has won the past 2 Grand Prix, and Ryan has been on the podium in both of those races. So it's not like Ryan is driving badly. Ross is just driving very, very well. Nice battle for 3rd in the championship too. Mr. Wiggles 82 points, Prev 75, Flu 74, and that guy I guess can be included in that as well on 65 points. So those 4 drivers only separated by 17 points. It's all very close. What about constructors? McLaren leads by 48 points. Aston Martin in 2nd. AlphaTauri a further 9 points behind. Haas a further 10 points behind that. Still all in with a shot, but McLaren definitely do have the advantage. Question will be when Ross misses the final 2 races. That is other teams' incentive to try and outscore McLaren. So eyes tonight are on Ross and Ryan. Ross can't win the championship tonight, if Ryan fails to score and Ross wins with the fastest lap, the title will still be on. So, but whatever happens, Ross cannot lose his championship lead in this race here tonight. So, too much pressure for Ross. With Ryan starting in 8th, obviously Ross will be happy, especially on this track where it is difficult to overtake. I'm sure Ross won't be too concerned with the title. All he'll be hoping for is just to outscore Ryan here tonight. Mr. Wiggles, Ross, Ghost and that guy all on the medium compound tyres, as we know. And Prev has been disqualified on the formation lap. Some contact with another driver perhaps. As a result, Prev's tyres are going to be colder than Mr. Wiggles' qualifying lap in Q3. Rest of the top 10 on the soft compound tyres. We already know that from the end of Q2, but those outside have a free tyre choice. Padge and Ranier on the soft compound tyres. Greg has opted for the mediums. FB Uno has opted for the softs. Tardius Bear, Mr. Colucci and D-Tom all opting for the medium compound tyres. Tucker for Life is on the softs. And Deflated Wee, joining late in quali, gets to do this race from the back on the medium compound tyres. As you can see, Ghost in 4th. His Ferrari is ghosted, ironically. He will be able to take control of his car once the start has happened, so Ghost may lose out some places in the opening couple of corners. And of course, like previous Formula 1 races, crashes are plenty here. We could very well see some incidents. As Prev, he's had to wait an awful long time for people to come round onto the grid. And Tucker, I believe, has also lagged out, so he won't be able to control his car for the start either. 27 laps. One Japan circuit. 19 drivers here tonight. One Muppet on the commentary. And just awaiting the start of the race. Here we go. Here come the lights. And there go the drivers. Start of the Japanese Grand Prix. It looks like Kemmets has had a really good start in 7th place. He's trying to make his way past the 2 Aston Martins, but no way through at this moment in time. Lots of drivers going side by side. Ghost is lagging all over the place. That AI issue will be an issue for him until he gets control of his car. I believe he is still lagging around, so I wonder if he is going to get control sooner rather than later. No real issues. FB Uno has dropped to the back. Tardius Bear has also dropped to the back. So bad starts for them. Ryan is up a place, he's up to 7th. Prev has dropped down a couple of places behind Ryan and Kemmets. That guy's up into 5th. Mr. Wiggles leads. Ripley in 2nd, Ross Ghost, that guy Kemmets, Ryan Flew, Prev, Dayman rounding out your top 10. And it looks like everyone is behaving as they should. What's happened to Ghost? Ghost is round. Tucker's also round. Doesn't look like any major damage here for Ghost. Deflated Wheeze into the pits. Ghost has left. Wonder if that's a game crash or... Tidiest Bear's also pitted and a 5-second penalty. It all happened at that final chicane. Unfortunately, we weren't watching exactly when that happens, but a pair of these two are in for new tyres. Possibly Deflated We're changing a wing to Tidiest Bear, sorry, definitely changing his wing. Out in front, we've got a big train between Wiggles down to Padge. And what's happened to Dayman? Dayman is spun through that flat out right-hander after the hairpin. Some kind of mistake or maybe some kind of contact. He was running ahead of Padge. Majestic in 9th, but not anymore. And Ross is super close to the back of Ripley. Ripley's not too far away from Mr. Wiggles. Now as they start lap 3, DRS is enabled, which means on that main straight, if you are within 1 second of the car ahead, you can open your rear wing. It gets you more speed on the straight line. Might be able to make an overtake into the first corner. Ross is looking pretty close through this first sector. Did mention it is difficult to overtake. And Ross has been pretty close to the back of that Mercedes for a while. So maybe Ripley is holding Ross up, but Ripley's not too far away from Wiggles, which means that, oh, and Ripley's wide. Had the outside line on the hairpin, and that has saved him. That outside line typically has more grip. And a slight mistake on the brakes for Ripley. Fortunately for Ross, he couldn't get through. And it is very much business as usual, as you were. That guy not too far behind. Of course, if you're not going to get DRS, and the first person to not get DRS here is Flew, he's going to be the one to miss out. All these other drivers are going to get DRS, apart from Wiggles, of course, being at the front. Now the DRS kicks in, you can see how close Ripley gets to the back of Wiggles' Haskell. There's just not enough straight on that main straight to make a move down into turn 1. And if you are going to make a move into turn 1, it's going to be side by side, which is very risky. Goes Tamino into the pits. Tidiest Bear pitted last lap for a second time. Goes Tamino onto the hard compound tyres. Might be able to get away with doing the rest of the race on those tyres. Just have to wait and see. Ross is very close to the back of Ripley. Will he go for a move down into the chicane? Ripley parking his car in the middle of the track. That is exactly what you want to do when you're defending. Pop your car in a place where it's almost impossible to get around the outside or down the inside of a corner. It might ruin your line into that corner, but it means that you don't get overtaken. You don't have to lose time going side by side with another driver. These top 3 have pulled away from that guy a little bit, who is under pressure from Clements and Ryan. So I wonder if that guy's made a slight mistake on lap 4. Majestic with a 3-second time penalty. And that guy has made a bit of a mistake out of the 2 Degner corners. Losing ground to Kemmets and Ryan. These 3 are losing ground, sorry, on the top 3. The more they fight, the more time they lose. And of course, Kemmets won't have the DRS on anyone, whereas Ripley and Ross do have DRS. This top 3 will be hoping to maintain this good pace in the early few laps. Bold move around the outside of 130R. Ryan pulls it off brilliantly. Kemmets gave him the room. Fair play. Nice, clean, fair driving from the pair of them. Obviously, Ryan, proving my point earlier, he's just going to leave himself vulnerable to a possible attack here into turn 1. Kemmets not close enough. So Ryan, this could be his opportunity now. It's only 3 seconds down the road for a possible podium. I wonder, can Ryan get some good lap times in? Maybe pit 1 lap earlier than Ripley, who has taken the lead past Mr. Wiggles. Got that guy, teammate Prev, Flew, all behind, and a mistake from Ryan out of a hairpin, losing some traction. Kemmett's got a good run, good exit. But the more that these 3 fight, the more time they lose to the top 3. There's fights going on everywhere. We got Greg on the back of run here for the final points paying position. Padge is doing really well, back on his wheel tonight. Brian potentially going for a move on Kemmets. That guy had to slam on the brakes to make sure he didn't run into them. Top 3 is super close. Ross trying to make a move on Wiggles as Ryan getting back past Kemmets on the main straight. Ryan going a little bit wide in turn 1. Oh, Kemmets. Really good car control not to lose it there and cause an incident. Mr. Wiggles also struggling. Ross is now released into second. And Mr. Wiggles needs to be careful he doesn't lose the DRS on this top 2. Otherwise, he might find himself in no man's land and might have to just settle for a 3rd place here. If I was Wiggles, I'd be using a lot of that battery charge he may have to try and gain up to the back of Ross before the final corner. Ryan is putting the hammer down. That gap to Wiggles is now just 2 seconds. Dayman is out and he has crashed underneath the bridge by the 2 Degner corners, and there is a safety car. Lap 7 of 27. First safety car of the week is out. Obviously for these soft tyre runners, this may be an early Christmas present for them. They can possibly box onto either medium or hard tyres. For the medium runners, they may box onto hards too, but it just depends on how they feel. Ripley, Ross, Wiggles, Ryan, Kemmets, that guy, Prev, Flew. Excuse me, I'm getting a hiccup attack. All into the pits. Here comes Padge. Ranier stays out and will inherit the lead of the race. Greg is in, Deton in, Mr. Colucci is in 2, FB Uno is in 2, Tucker, what will he do? Tucker's in 2. I'm convinced Tucker's actually in the cockpit. Inflated wheat, what will he do? He will stay out. Tidy is spare meanwhile. will also stay out. Ghost Tamino has been given a lifeline. Oh, those hard tyres don't look good. And Ghost lagging in and out of the pits on our screen. Possibly connection issues for Ghost here tonight. 3 drivers stayed out under this safety car. Deflated Wee in 14th, Tidy Spare in 17th, and our race leader, due to the league run here. Congratulations on your first lap led in IIRL. Gosh, I'm having hiccups and voice cracks tonight. Had no rhythm. Yeah, it is. It's definitely a track where you need good rhythm, especially sector 1. You can get into a really good rhythm in the race. You're on for a good showing. Mr. Colucci, the only other driver to use the hard tyres, he will go to the end of the race. Although a lot of other drivers have opted for the medium compound tyres, so maybe those mediums will make it the remaining 20 laps. As for Ross and that guy, Greg, Deton, FBU, No Tucker, they've all gone on to brand new soft tyres. As you can see, race director, the only 2 people, actually 3 people, 4 people even, that need to pit again, Tidy Spare, Tucker, FBU, No Deflated Wee, they have used the same compound tyre, and of course our race leader is yet to pit. So 5 people must pit between 14th and 17th, and of course our race leader. They must pit again. For everyone else, they don't have to, but those on the soft compound tyres probably will pit again onto another set of softs. That is probably what is going to happen for the rest of the race. Here's your position change. Run here by staying out. He's up 11 off his starting grid slot of P12. Ripley and Ross as they were. Wiggles currently behind that pair. He did start on pole, but still on for a podium once Run here makes his pit stop. Ryan and Kamens, good starts from them. Ryan especially. He's cleared that midfield pack that he was behind on the grid, and now might be in with a shot of challenging Wiggles and possibly Ross, which is exactly what Ryan needs to do to keep his title hopes alive. That guy's down 1, Flew is up 1, Prev, the main loser in the top 10 in terms of losing grid slot. Padge is up 1, capitalising from Ghost Tamino. Greg, D-Tom, Mr. Colucci, Deflated Wee, all good starts from them. Nice first stint for those 3 or 4 drivers. Obviously Ghost and Dayman, the 2 main losers in terms of where they are now to where they started. Safety car is in this lap, and that was a very late call. I hope, for everyone's sake, got their tyres in a good state. Ranier struggling to put the traction down. He has gone for it. It's very congested on that main straight. Will we see any moves into turn 1? No. There goes Ripley down the inside, a little bit wide from Ranier. Old tyres and all that. Ranier struggling. Here comes Ross round the outside. Turn 5, nice move, worked it well. Ripley and Ross are through, and of course if Ranier is going to stay ahead of Wiggles, these 2 may get a nice little 1-second window in the opening lap of this restart. Mr. Wiggles, Ryan Kemmets will be hoping to clear Ranier as quickly as possible, and Ranier is spun. There's a mistake, he's off the track. He's going very slowly. I think he's got a 10-second time penalty for cutting the track. I think that can probably get removed. Ghost Tamino also, Ghost Tamino's crashed. He's got a 10-second penalty as well. He's not got a wing. Both Ferraris have capitulated on this restart. What has happened? Here comes Ross now for the leads. Down the inside of 130R. Ghost has retired Spoon Corner. No, before that. No wing. Shouldn't be another safety car here. Running into the pits for hard tyres. This now is the opportunity that Ross is looking for. Those soft tyres will definitely not last another 15 laps. So Ross is going to have to build a gap on Ripley as quick as he can, get him out of DRS range, push on ahead, try and gain time on Ripley, possibly make another pit stop and try and get somewhere further up the fields. Kamets and that guy going side by side, that guy getting the best of the Red Bull driver. Now, you know, I'm not calling you losers in that respect, I just mean losing places from their grid slot. I know you know what I mean, but you're allowed to make that joke. Mr. Wiggles up into second now. Falling perfectly into the hands of Ross. He now has a 2-second lead on this pair. DRS is now enabled, so Ross has done his job perfectly well. His next job will now be to try and build a bit of a gap on Mr. Wiggles and Ripley, so that when Ross pits again, he doesn't lose as much track position in the pits. Top 9 all very close. Deton has a bit of track ahead of him. Isn't under any enormous pressure from Deflated Wee because he's under enormous pressure from FBU now. Very much the usual suspects we know and love here in NA. Top 10, pretty much as you would expect, I'm going to say. Possibly with the omissions of Ghost and Dayman. Mr. Wiggles has actually decreased that gap to our race leader. Oh, bit of contact between Ripley and Wiggles. Ripley was just trying to brake as late as he can, try and get close to Wiggles as he possibly dares out of that final corner. Wiggles parking his car in the middle of the track, taking a page out of Ripley's book. Even though Ryan has to outscore Ross, you'd think, in this race to keep his title hopes alive, it's not the end of the world. Ross will most probably have to pit again, which means he'll lose 20 odd seconds on Ryan. And at the moment, that gap is about 4 seconds. So Ryan is in a nice spot here. If he can nurture and maintain those medium tyres till the end, could be on for a podium here. Ross will have to fight for his podium. 13 of 27, we are rapidly approaching half race distance. The top 8 are all super close. I just dropped back by a couple of seconds in the last lap. Deton is now under immense pressure from Deflated Wee. Nice to see those big battles at the front, but it's always nice to see what's going on at the rest of the track. Brev Going for the move, has committed to it, bit of contact with Flew, shoves his way past, and in Japan, Rev the Dutchman is past Flew the Frenchman. And what's happened with Padge? Problem for Padge at the chicane. He's dropped a lot of places, he's into the pits. And Padge's good race so far has been scuppered by whatever happened on that final series of corners. Ripley really struggling on that occasion through the hairpin. Wiggles doesn't want to get too close to Ripley, you might miss your braking point. Of course, you don't want to run into the car in front of you. Ross building that gap out front. It's 2.4 seconds. Ross will most likely pit around about lap 19. If he is going to pit again. Comes Mr. Wiggles. Again, Ripley putting his car in exactly the right spot, but struggling on traction out of the final corner. And the DRS move very much as we expected. That guy defending from not only his teammate but from Kemmets. We've seen some great battles between these three drivers this season already. And the more that Ripley and Wiggles fight, the more that Ryan has gained. He is now within striking distance of Mr. Wiggles' Haas. Going not too far behind, he will get the DRS, but only just. He needs to close that gap down to Ryan if he wants to feel a little bit more comfortable in where he is in 5th at the moment. He does have a time penalty, and that's not going to help his cause. Ripley also has one. This race, we still don't know how it's going to go. We are expecting those on the soft tyres to pit again. Yellow flag in sector 1. I believe Ranier has just had a bit of a moment. He's a long way behind Majestic in 17th. And what about Ryan? Can he try and force his way onto the podium? As it stands, he's already got a podium because Ripley's time penalty. Wiggles looks pretty close. Side by side. Wiggles taking the outside line and Ripley's lost it! Ripley on for a podium. Has driven so well so far in this race. No contact there with Mr. Wiggles. That is just Ripley losing it on the curb perhaps of turn 1. He's not out of the race. Safety car might bring him into the mix again, but he'll need to hope and pray for that. He drops down to 8th place, where at the moment it looks like that's where he will finish, but let's not count our chickens too soon. But Ripley, unfortunately, biting the dust there at turn 1. This track claiming yet another victim. Gap out front has reduced once again. Wiggles with a bit of breathing room behind him thanks to Ripley's incident. And Mr. Wiggles has managed to get that gap down up front to 2.2 seconds. It was 2.6. Ryan is still on his tail. Now Ryan is proud owner of 3rd. Of course, if it finishes like this, Ryan must outscore Ross next week in Brazil to keep his title hopes alive. Ryan will be aware of this. He will also be aware Mr. Wiggles does not have DRS. Tucko's into the pits, indicating that indeed those soft tyre runners' pit window is open. Lap 17 for Tucker. I wonder how long Ross will go until. And indeed, where will Ross come out of the pits? The question is, will he come out ahead of Deton, FB Uno and Greg? Of course, those three have to pit again. Mr. Wiggles, bit of a slide into second spoon corner. It's all very, very close. Obviously that guy will have to pit as well, which means it could be an interesting fight between Wiggles, Ryan and Clements for the win. Starting on the soft tyre, turned out at this moment in time to be the right decision. Clements' red light flashing on the back of his car. That means he is down to less than 25% overtake at his disposal. It is naturally quite easy to save ERS through this first couple of sectors. As soon as you get down to sector 3, it does get slightly harder with those long straights. ERS does deplete naturally. Inflated Wee is into the pits, as is FB Uno and Tidiest Bear. New softs for Wee, new mediums for FB Uno, and 15 lap old mediums for Tidiest Bear. So maybe it doesn't have a new set. Oh no, he is onto a set of soft tyres, my bad. I thought he pitted onto 15 lap old mediums. And a mistake for Ross. Wiggles is closing in. Wiggles and Ryan now have DRS on our race leader, and it's been a while since Ross has really been challenged for the lead of this race. But now the heat is on. Lap 19 of 27, 9 laps remain of the Japanese Grand Prix. Ross will pretty much have to pit again. If he doesn't and makes these soft tyres go 18 laps, I will stand up out of my chair and applaud him. The chances are they won't last that long. Tucker has already come in to drop them. FB Uno has done the same. Deton is now into the pits, ditching his soft tyres for another set. We are expecting to see Greg, that guy, and Ross into the pits. Those on the medium compound tyres in the top 8 can go to the end, but it will be touch and go if they can make their tyres last that long. Majestic with another time penalty. Mr. Colucci, by the way, pitted onto hard tyres under the safety car, and he obviously doesn't need to pit again. He's up into the points now and has a nice 10-second gap on Deflated Wee behind him, but Deflated Wee will be hoping to use those new set of soft tyres to gain as quickly as possible and try and get some points out of tonight's race. Will Ross pit on this lap? Yes, he does. And so does Mr. Wiggles. Ryan stays out to inherit the leads. Now, Mr. Wiggles didn't have to pit there, I don't think, but he chose to. Obviously, both will go on to a new set of soft tyres, as they do. Ryan leads the race now by 2.3 seconds. Clements in second. That guy's in third. Has a time penalty, which means his teammate is going to be on the podium as things stand. Very interesting call there from Mr. Wiggles. The pair have dropped down behind Ripley. They We've now got 7 laps to gain 11 seconds on Ripley. Obviously is not going to have great tyres. Question is, how quickly can Ross and Wiggles gain? And when they're at the back of the car, how quickly can they overtake? For Ryan, if he can keep those mediums till the end, he could very well be in with a great result here tonight. That guy has dropped out of DRS range of Clements just marginally. I wonder if... No, that guy hasn't got it on the DRS detection. So Prev might have an opportunity here to overtake his teammate. See the speed difference going down the straight. And Prev, that's a relatively easy move on his teammate. Perhaps Prev can be the one to challenge Clements and Ryan. FBU deflated wheels falling. Majestic is out. Will that be a safety car? Yes, it will. There you can see Padge has crashed. Now, this changes everything. What's likely going to happen? Those top 6 are all going to pit for new soft tyres. The question is, can Ross and Wiggles close up before these top 6 pit and inherit first and second in the race? That is going to be the question. As it stands, it's touch and go. But Ross and Wiggles will be hoping the safety car slows down that front pack as much as possible. These two can gain time. This is going to be absolutely crucial on the timing. We could very well see Ryan and Ross go side by side to turn 1 under safety car. So Ryan is in. Clements is in too. Here comes Prev. No doubt that that guy will be pitting. Flute stays out. Ripley pits. Flew is taking his chance here. And you know what? It's not a bad option. It's hard to overtake at this track. And with only 5 laps left of this race, it could very well be a good opportunity to stay out for track position. The question will obviously be, where is Ryan? Ryan is coming out of the pits now. Ross has come out behind his championship rival. Prev, meanwhile, has stayed ahead of Mr. Wiggles, so that's good news for Prev. Mr. Colucci is in. He's had a good stint in the middle of this race to get up to 9th and in the points. But he has ditched those hard tyres for a set of softs. Otherwise, he is going to be a sitting duck. This then has turned into a game of how long can Flew hold on to the leads? Any takers in the chat? How many laps do you think Flew can hold off a horde of drivers behind on new soft tyres? When Flew's tyres are, I'm gonna guess, around 40 or 50%. As we alluded to earlier, everyone now with a time penalty will be kicking themselves. Didn't mean to do that. That guy Ripley have 3 seconds. Mr. Colucci with 3 seconds too. Deflated Wee with 6 seconds. Tidiest Bear 3. Renier with 10. All of these time penalties will come back to haunt them, because now it's a 5-lap sprint for the win. Flew hasn't done the worst thing here by staying out. All Flew needs to do is make sure that he gets good exit out of the corners, perhaps hope that the drivers behind get involved in some kind of fight or some kind of incident that means that Flew can get a small gap on his rivals around him. Flew here has not done a bad decision. It's just whether or not Flew can hold off these drivers for about 4 laps. This is a good opportunity to reminisce on what happened with 2 championship rivals in the 80s and 90s, Senna and Prost, 2 years in a row, crashing each other out, causing the title fight to swing in a certain direction and be awarded to a certain driver rather than the other. Last thing we want to see tonight is Ryan and Ross getting into an incident. Of course, these two are the only ones who can win the championship this season. Ross has won a load of races. Ryan, although he's in the title fight, has yet to win a race this season. So far, could be on for his first race win of the season. Ronnie is just coming out of Spoon Corner now. Still about 10 seconds off the back of the pack, so the safety car will remain out for lap 24, which means we will be racing for laps 25, 26 and 27. And if you think Flew can hold off, can only let 1 driver through per lap, Flew could be on for a P4 here, or if he can do even better than that, could find himself on the podium. What Ryan will be hoping for is he can get past Flew as quickly as possible and hope that Flew holds Ross up. And even if Ross does get into second, Ryan still has 7 points to gain on Ross. Look at the fastest lap. Currently Ross does have it by a few tenths of a second. But obviously, with these brand new tyres on the car, those lap times, you'd fear, are going to be absolutely demolished. So Ross here might lose an extra point if someone beats his fastest lap, but Ross won't be worried too much about the fastest lap. He'll just be hoping to either overtake Ryan and make sure that he stays behind Ryan and ahead of Flew. Ross here, not too much pressure on him. All the pressure is on Ryan. Of course, the last thing we want to see is someone crash out or make a huge mistake in the last laps of the race. Obviously, everyone is now bunched up, which means one issue and you're going straight to the back of the field. Even if you get involved in an incident that wasn't your fault. Gosh, I sound like I'm on the TV. Safety car is in this lap. And this could be the most nervous 3 laps we have seen so far this season. Flew stayed out under safety car. He has a massive disadvantage on tyres, but he has a big advantage on track position. There was not gone for it yet. Ryan thought he would. As a result, Ross is now on the back of Ryan. Flew has played this very well indeed. Ross and Ryan are side by side. We'll try and get some POV on this, just in case these two make a collision. Ryan dives it up the side of up the inside of turn 1 and maintains second place. That is a good move from Ryan. Good defensive work. Ross gave him the space. Again, good driving from the pair of them. Flew leads. Ryan, Ross, Prev, Wiggles, Kemmons, that guy, Ripley, Deaton and Greg all in the points. Once again, Greg proving to us that keeping it clean means getting some points. Or will he? Ryan, super close. Will he go for the move? Yes, he will. Flew gave him the space, and here comes Ross. That tyres. Greg is out. Oh, I may have just ruined this race. No one say commentator's curse. Obviously no safety car in the last couple of laps. Ross has done exactly what he needed to do now, and he's passed Flew. Mr. Wiggles is dropping, and so is that guy. I wonder if they two have had some contact. Mr. Wiggles is falling down the standings. An issue in Spoon Corner between what looks like that guy and Mr. Wiggles. That guy losing out to Ripley. Flew still hanging in there for a possible podium here, and with Prev's penalty, Flew might be in with a realistic shot at a podium here. But here comes Ross. He'll be hoping to outscore Ryan. If he can outscore Ryan in this race and the next race in Brazil, he will be crowned champion. The heat is on for the race win, and there are other battles going down the field. Teton is into the pits, so he's had an issue sometime on that safety car restarts. Tidy's bit up into the points, but might lose out to Wiggles on time penalties. Deflated Wee's shot in the top 10 also could be under threat with his time penalty too. FB Uno has had a really good result here. He's up into 8th place. And no time penalties for him, although he has just fallen a few places behind 2. Yellow flag in sector 2 around the 2 Degner corners under the bridge. So once again, I have ruined both Alpine's races with my words. There is no such thing as a commentator's curse, is my excuse. Flew under big pressure now from Prev, Ripley, and that guy Kemmons is on the back of that and is the only one realistically who can beat Flew as things stand. Ross not too far away from the race win and extending his championship lead, but Ryan setting a new fastest lap of the race. That guy beating it. Prev has passed Flew. No DRS until this lap, the final lap of the race. And of course DRS isn't really going to matter because it's out of the final corner and there's not enough room to overtake someone. Flew is down to 5th, but if he can stay within 3 seconds of Prev and Ripley, Flew is going to be on the podium. But the real battle now is between Ross and Ryan. Ross getting a really good exit out of Dunlop. Mr. Colucci retiring and Deflated Wee retiring as well in the final lap. They will still be classified, but they won't score points here tonight. That guy is also out. What is happening? They're dropping like flies tonight. And that guy has crashed at the exit of the hairpin. We're back on board as Ryan looks to be in a great spot here to win his first race of the season. Ripley and Prev are fighting for position, but they're going to lose out to Kemmons and Flew. Most importantly, Kemmons has passed Flew, which means Flew is not going to end up on the podium out of the final corner. Ryan has done very well. He didn't have the best qualifying, but did the best race, and Ross just missing out on the race win there. Kemmons and Flew jumping up. Flew, it was a gutsy decision to stay out under safety car, and in the end it's a 5th place. That's not too bad. Kemmons out of nowhere getting a podium. He'll be thrilled with that. Prev holding on to P4 by a couple of tenths of a second. Ripley Wiggles after an incident with that guy, I think, in the final few laps, dropping him down to 7th. Tidiest Bear once again scoring points. Tucker scoring points too, and FBU no, even though I just potentially cost him points with my words, has gained 1 point. by less than a second. Ranier, well, perhaps a bit of an up and down debut for him. Maybe next week we might see something special from Ranier. Deton finishing out 12 runners here in Japan. Turns out Japan is a hard track to race without any practice. Well, I could have told you that before the race started. But no, kudos to you for racing without practice. Amazes me how you do it, but fortunately for deflated weight, it's an early retirement. Stupid curb of death, such a shame those penalties. Yeah, it is such a shame, but you know, it is the nature of Japan. We talked a lot about invalidations and time penalties in qualifying, so yeah, well, there you have it. Ryan, his first race win of the season, decreases the gap to Ross out front by 37 points. And with Ross not taking part in the final 2 races of the season, Ryan will be hoping that this is the start of a championship shift. Comments by keeping it clean and by fitting those soft tyres at the ends like everyone else, getting on the podium, jumping ahead of Prev on time penalties, who stays ahead of Flew, who it was a gutsy call to stay out on the medium tyres, but I think he would have got less than, maybe lower than 5th if he'd have pitted, so you know what, maybe that was a good call from Flew to stay out. Ripley with those penalties just dropping him below Flew into 6th. Mr. Wiggles with a bit of an incident on the curb of death, dropping to 7th. Tidy as bet, even with the time penalties, getting 8 points and 4 more points onto his total. Tucker and FBU, no, great points for them too, and quite a number of retirements here today. Well, I mean, qualifying was exciting with all those close times. The start of the race was pretty exciting with changing positions and all that. Safety cars coming out, changing the shape of the race. We thought Flew maybe had done an expert decision by staying out at the end there. In the end, Ryan, first race win of the season, closing the gap at the top of the championship to 37 points. And in terms of driver of the day, I think Kamens had a great race, but I think Ryan, what he achieved tonight, he started in 8th place on the grid, which on a track where it's difficult to overtake is not great. But to win the race from 8th place, holding off Ross in the final few laps, having great battles with Mr. Wiggles, Kamens, the lot, I think you cannot have a better race than that. Ryan, deserved driver of the day. I'm sure there's going to be great performances throughout the grid, and they'll get special mentions in our Discord as well after the race, so keep an eye on that. Well, that is going to end it for today's stream. Remember, 3 more streams this week: Thursday night for Assist Tier 1, Saturday night for F2, Sunday night for Assist Tier 2. Well, this race was full of thrills and spills, surprises, excitement around every single corner. So why not join us later on this week for some more IIRL racing here on Twitch, 7:30 PM GMT start. We'll see you then.